Hello everyone, I am Shonal Islam. My ID is 22108333 and recently I have read a book In Custody by Anita Desai and I am going to review it. Custody is a novel by Indian author Anita Desai, first published in 1984 and it was also shortlisted for the Booker Prize. Set in post-independence India, the novel explores the fading glory of Urdu poetry through the eyes of an ordinary man. The story is centered around Devan Sharma, a Hindi lecturer in a small college in India who dreams of Urdu poetry and gets the opportunity to interview his idol, the great Urdu poet Nur Shahanjabadi. This is a deeply emotional and thought-provoking book that explores the fading glory of Urdu poetry, personal disillusionment, and the gap between dreams and reality. Now let's get a short summary about the novel. The story revolves around Devan Sharma, a Hindi lecturer at a small town college in Mirpur. Although he teaches Hindi, he has a deep love for Urdu poetry, which he feels is more refined and expressive. Unfortunately, Urdu is slowly disappearing from public life and Devan feels helpless about it. One day, his friend Murad, a bold and manipulative magazine editor, offers Devan an opportunity to interview Nur Shahanjabadi, one of the last great Urdu poets, who lives in Delhi. Devan sees this as a dream come true and a chance to meet his literary idol and do something meaningful by preserving Nur thoughts and poetry for future generations. When Devan travels to Delhi, he is full of hope and idealism. However, what he finds shocks him. Nur is not the poetic genius he imagined, but a tired, aging man surrounded by chaos, poverty, and a dysfunctional household. He has two wives who constantly quarrel. Nur's poetic life has declined. He seems bitter, disillusioned, and burdened. Despite this, Devan tries to record Nur's conversation using a borrowed tape recorder. But technical problems, lack of cooperation, and Devan's own experience lead to failure. The interview is incomplete, the recordings are poor quality, and Devan projects collapses. And still Devan is forced to pay for the tape recorder and other expenses from his own pocket, which causes further stress at home and work. The novel ends with Devan feeling defeated but still clinging to the idea that he can somehow preserve Noor poetry. It doesn't fully succeed, but the experience leaves a lasting impact on him. He realizes that the beauty of art cannot be easily captured or saved, especially when society has moved on from valuing it. He tells himself that at least he tried to keep Urdu poetry in custody, meaning that he tried to protect it even he failed. Now let's talk about the major characters of this novel. Devan Sharma is the central character of the novel. He is a traditional hero but is a deeply flawed, passive man who lacks confidence and decision-making skills. His love for Urdu poetry represents his longing for a richer and more meaningful life. However, his inability to act assertively causes him to fail repeatedly. Devan is a symbol of the ordinary man, idealistic but weak and powerless in changing world. Nur Shahanjabadi is a complex and tragic character. Once a legendary poet, he now lives in a miserable life, surrounded by greed, noise, and conflict. Nur character represents the decline of traditional art forms. He is bitter about the fading relevance of Urdu. Murad, a very clever character, is Devan's old friend who pushes him into the interview project but offers no real support. He uses Devan for his magazine, whose name is Awaz, and abandons him when things go wrong. Murad represents the opportunistic sides of modern life, using art for profit without valuing it. If we talk about theme, the novel touches on several powerful themes. First of all, we can see cultural decline and language politics in the novel. At the heart of the novel is Urdu and the decline of Urdu, once a prestigious literary language in India, now marginalized in favor of Hindi. Anita Desai uses this comment to how language and cultures can fade under political and social pressure. Urdu, rich in poetry and emotion, is portrayed as a dying art, and Devan's efforts to preserve it highlighting the difficulty of saving something that society no longer values. Uh, in the end, we can say that society doesn't give any value to Urdu language and Urdu literature like Devens wants to do. We can see many positive and negative aspects while reading the novel. First of all, if we talk about positive aspects, they are the novel's emotional depth is very high, and it's a very culturable, relevant novel. We can relevant ourselves with our cultural, and the characters are well developed and relatable. The writing style is very unique and poetic, fitting the subject and the matter. And there are also some negative aspects while I have found reading the novel. The story is very slow paced, and readers may find uneventful to some readers. The novel also sheds light on an important aspect of Indian culture, the fading presence of Urdu and the loss of artistic tradition. Anita Desai's message is not just about language, but about memory, identity, and the struggle to hold on to what we love in a world that often doesn't care. I also appreciated how Anita Desai blended literature and emotion so naturally. The novel shows how powerful language and poetry can be, even when the world is no longer listens. In conclusion, I can say that In Custody is a quiet but powerful novel about culture, language, and lost dreams. If you enjoy reflective character driven stories and deeper meaning, I highly recommend you this book for reading. And thank you for listening. Allah Hafiz.